like them in a house? Would you like them with a mouse?
No, I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am. I mean, but would you like them in a box?
Would you eat them with a fox? Eat them, here they are. You may like them in a car.
Ted's rhyme was perfect, and it makes it easier for kids to, sound out words, and the rhyme helps, and it sort of bounces along, gives the whole story a little more action.
You do not like them, so you say, try them, and you may, try them, and you may, I say.
It's just so great when he cuts to the page and he tries it and everything's really quiet. He goes,
say, I like green eggs and ham. I do. I like them, Sam, I am.
Really brilliant about closing your mind off to something and then opening your mind to something. That's just that as a life lesson for a child.
Ted's success continued over the next few years with a string of books that have become classics of children's literature.
When you see something which is simply perfect, you don't stop and look at it and wonder how it got that way. I mean, that's one of the definitions of perfect.
Ted covered the walls of his studio with corkboard and laid each book out like the storyboards he had done for the Snafu cartoons of World War II.
Everything about those books was designed so that kids could read them as easily as possible. The placement of words, the vocabulary that was used, the pictures carefully illustrating everything that was said so you could figure out what the words meant from the picture.
Action on a page always went from left to right so that it would train the eye to follow the written text in the same way that the eye was following the illustration, and it would encourage you to turn the page to go on to find out what was going to happen next.
As editor-in-chief of Beginner Books, Ted issued a strict set of guidelines for the series' authors and illustrators.
You're working on a project, and it was almost there, and you sort of relax. We figure it's almost there, and Ted would bring you up short. He says, nope, everything stinks until it's finished. Wisdom from Ted.
And then it was Helen who smoothed the process, smoothed the way between not measuring up in Ted's mind and getting a publishable book out of it in the end.
And she brought, let's not get too crazy with the Bernsteins. Let's let them do what they do.
Let the Bernsteins do what they do best.
That's right. And she was quiet, but when she spoke, he would listen to Helen. He had great respect for her.
The success of Beginner Books attracted high-profile authors such as Roald Dahl and Truman Capote, who attempted to write for the series but could not adhere to its limitations.
You really do have to tear up 99% of your ideas simply because they don't fit within the vocabulary, they don't fit within the format of the book, they can't be illustrated, all of these things. That's why the really great beginner books are unique.
I do so like green eggs and ham. Thank you, Sam, I am.
Theodor Geisel worked alone and also cherished his time alone. Visitors often had trouble finding their way up the hill to his tower hideaway. He did not suffer fools gladly, but with those he trusted, he could quickly drop the mantle of children's author.
Ted had this kind of naughty side. I mean, it wasn't dirty, it wasn't really bawdy, it was just kind of a little bit naughty. When he was working on Dr. Seuss's ABC, a page arrived as if it were a real spread for the book, and it says, Big X, little x, XXX. Someday, kiddies, you will learn about sex. Note, if Bob Bernstein sees any sales problems inherent in this concept, I won't object to substituting my alternative suggestion. Signed, TSG.
Helen Geisel once said of her husband's sophomoric sense of humor, "His mind has never grown up."
I always described Helen to my friends as the perfect wealthy lady. She was very polite, but not obviously so. She was gracious. She was always nicely dressed. She was very articulate. She swam every day in the afternoon. Before her swim, she would have tea by herself in the living room, and she would have yogurt in an egg cup. An egg cup's worth of yogurt, plus her tea, and a biscuit of some type.
Still attentive to her husband's needs, Helen knew Ted preferred smaller gatherings at home to more formal events in town.
One of the funniest things about him is he so hated La Jolla society and the Grand Dames. So he had a series of drawings which were never published called The Bird Ladies of La Jolla, and they're very satirical.
Ted could be the soul of charm, and he was witty, and he was very bright. Conversation never lagged if you were part of it. The problem was becoming part of it.
Never comfortable in a crowd, Ted would simply disappear. At one dinner party, he was discovered in the host's library signing books using the name Robert Louis Stevenson.
I always thought of him as the kid that stands at the back of the classroom and says the wicked thing or eggs someone else into saying it and then steps back and looks totally proper, totally mannerly, and the other one gets the blame. He was always the rascal.
In 1966, Ted's old friend and wartime collaborator Chuck Jones approached him to adapt a Dr. Seuss book into an animated television special. But Ted hadn't forgotten the production by committee disaster of The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T.
Because he was anti-Hollywood very much, so I told him this was another field. This is television, and he didn't know much about television either. But so I went down there and we talked about it and decided on How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small.